What you really have to do is you have to pray to get everybody out to vote for one specific person. And we can't be, again, politically correct and say we pray for all of our leaders, because all of your leaders are selling Christianity down the tubes, selling the evangelicals down the tubes.
And that was a glimpse inside Donald Trump's closed-door meeting with evangelicals. Yesterday, he met with several leaders in an attempt to reassure them that he's the right candidate for their vote. But did it work? For much more, we now want to welcome in President and CEO of First Liberty, Kelly Shackelford. He's among the select group of evangelical leaders who met with Donald Trump in New York City yesterday, and he joins us from Newsmax, New York. Welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, Tony Perkins, the president of Family Research Council, spoke about meeting with Trump. Here's what he had to say.
And Donald Trump today came and had a conversation. Now, we don't agree on everything. But one thing he did, he acknowledged the concerns that evangelicals have, and he affirmed those concerns. And he said it won't happen when I'm president. Now, where will this lead? I'm not quite sure. Obviously, there's not many choices here. The choice is between Hillary Clinton, and we know exactly what she'll provide to America, or we have Donald Trump, who many were not with at the beginning. But they hear what he's saying. They want to believe him. That's why they came here today, to be a part of this.
Now, Mr. Shackelford, some Republicans are reluctant to support Trump, as you know. Did the meeting give you a better understanding of him as a candidate?
Oh, I think so. And I think that was the purpose. If you looked at the people in the room, leaders, faith leaders from all over the country, most of them had supported somebody else or hadn't been involved in all. And so they really had no starting point with Donald Trump. They didn't know where he was on their issues. They had never had a chance to say what they thought was really important to them. And so I think that was the whole purpose, was to just begin a conversation. And I think that definitely happened. One of the things I thought was interesting is over 50,000 questions were submitted from people all over the country, and by far the most, not even close to second, the most important issue to everyone was religious freedom. And when that was brought up at the beginning, Donald Trump said, you know, in light of what I'm seeing around the country, that doesn't surprise me. And so I think, you know, it started a good conversation about a number of issues, including what kind of Supreme Court justices he would appoint, and a number of other questions that people wanted to see him answer directly.
So was the meeting, in your opinion, enough to convince you that Mr. Trump is intent on protecting the religious freedom of Christians?
No, I mean, I think the whole purpose was just to start the conversation. I mean, again, most people walked in, you know, not planning anything, but just planning to say, well, you know, I've never met Donald Trump, I've never talked to him, see a lot of things on TV. The Donald Trump certainly in the meeting was a more humble person. I think the fact that he showed up to this group showed his attempt to reach out to say, hey, you know, let me know what issues are important to you, and I'll tell you honestly where I am on these issues, and we're not going to agree on everything. And I think it was a good conversation. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to go from not knowing to, you know, getting behind Donald Trump. And I know the people that even sponsored the meeting are going to invite Hillary Clinton to do the same thing with all the national leaders. Who knows if she'll do that? But I think that's what they were looking for, was information that could move them towards the issues that they really care about. And again, for this group, a lot of national leaders of different issues, whether it's sanctity of life, et cetera. But I think religious freedom was a tie-in, and sort of the courts and the freedoms that affect all of us were really way at the top of what people have the greatest concern about.
And would you consider that to be the top priority among evangelicals, religious freedom?
I think so. I think it's pretty clear to everyone. What I've been doing for 27 years is religious freedom work, so obviously I have a little bias there. But I was really surprised when they asked for questions, and there were over 50,000 questions submitted, and religious freedom just dominated and what people cared about. And that was the first thought, Miranda, I had when I was thinking, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen a group of faith leaders from all over the country come together like this. And I thought, why is this happening? And I think it's because there's a palpable concern amongst these leaders about the attacks on religious freedom in our culture and what's occurring. And so they're now very concerned about who might be in office, what they might do, how hostile they're going to be to religious freedom. because the last few years have been pretty hostile. I mean, whether you're the Little Sisters of the Poor, a bunch of nuns, or whether you're Hobby Lobby, or whether you're a Christian college or university, all these things from the government are now coming at you that you used to not even have to think about.
Well, you know, you mentioned Hillary Clinton during that closed-door meeting. Donald Trump raised questions about Hillary Clinton's faith. Let's look and listen.
Anything about Hillary in terms of religion? Now, she's been in the public eye for years and years, and yet there's nothing out there. There's like nothing out there. It's going to be an extension of Obama, but it's going to be worse, because with Obama you had your guard up. With Hillary you don't, and it's going to be worse.
Do you think it's going to be worse with Hillary Clinton? Do other evangelicals think it's going to be worse with Hillary Clinton?
I think that's what they're beginning the process of trying to figure out. I think most of those evangelical leaders, again, were supporting someone else. So they're now down to a couple of choices, and they're trying to figure out, well, where are these people going to be on the issues? And they're really beginning to learn. And so I think that was part of the process yesterday. And Donald Trump, I'll give him credit. He, number one, I think he did himself a favor by coming and doing this. But he said, you know what, Hillary, you're going to invite Hillary. He said she'd be smart to do this. He didn't know if she would, but he thought he would, and I think she would too. But I think these are leaders, if you look at who was in the room, that there's probably 20, 30, 40 million people that are in those groups and constituencies. And so that's a lot of people that either maybe won't vote at all, or if they're energized about some issue or some person, might be pulled out to vote, and it could make the difference in the election.
Now, you have been quoted as describing this meeting with Trump as very genuine. Which candidate in your mind will better protect the religious freedom of Christians, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, I don't know yet. I haven't heard very much from Hillary Clinton on the issues and where she stands. I'll say this, a couple of things that I did appreciate that Donald Trump did. Number one, he on his own, before we even got into these issues, brought up the case of the coach, Coach Kennedy out in outside of Bremerton, Washington, who was actually fired because he went to a knee to give thanks after the football game. Donald Trump said, you know, that's wrong. That shouldn't happen in our country, and we're going to stop that kind of thing from happening in our country. I appreciate that he even cared about it, that he even knew about it. And I think his focus on the Supreme Court has been at least a sign of the type of justices and the type of freedoms that would be preserved. He released a list of 11, and he announced yesterday to us that he was probably going to add another 4 or 5 very strong conservative jurists to his list. So that's certainly a good head start for him on the issue, and I don't think we know enough yet as to what Hillary Clinton is claiming she will do or will stand for with regard to religious freedom.
Mr. Shackelford, with the time that remains, a veteran, Oscar Rodriguez, started giving traditional remarks at a military flag folding ceremony, but was forced out because he allegedly mentioned the word God in his remarks. We have a clip of what happened. I want you to take a look at that and get your reaction after.
Our flag is known as the Stars and Stripes. The Union consists of white stars on a blue field, symbolic of a new constellation. Each star represents one individual state, and together they stand united, indivisible. The stripes represent the original 13 colonies that declared their independence from Great Britain.
And this is video that was posted on Breitbart. Now, traditionally, that speech explains the colors, symbols, and history of the flag, in addition to several religious references like "Let us pray." However, in 2005, the Pentagon changed the speech to remove all references of religion. Has the government, in your opinion, gone too far by banning mentions of God in religion and ceremonies like the one we just saw?
Absolutely. This is outrageous. I encourage, what you just showed, I encourage everybody to view this. There's a website, standwithoscar.com, where they can see it. This should happen to no citizen. The idea that you had government officials, non-commissioned officers in uniform, assaulting and throwing a private citizen out of a private ceremony that he was asked to speak at because he was going to mention God. You feel like you're in some sort of different country. I mean, certainly not one with the First Amendment, with religious freedom, with free speech. This was a clear violation of the Constitution, and there should not only be an apology for Oscar. Oscar's not just a citizen, he's a 33-year veteran,
Right.
and for this to happen to him, I think, is disgraceful.
Yeah, you're actually going to be representing him. In the 30 seconds that we have remaining, Trump real quickly talked about appealing the Johnson Amendment. Are you hopeful that that will happen?
I thought that was encouraging. For those who don't know what that is, it's the restriction on nonprofits, and including churches or religious organizations, to speak out about the elections and supporting one candidate over another. I think Donald Trump made sense when he said, you know, that shouldn't be happening. That's muzzling the citizens. And he promised that if he were president, that he would do everything in his power to get rid of that. I think any president should do that. I don't think we should be muzzling churches and religious organizations from speaking out.
CEO of First Liberty, Kelly Shackelford, thanks so much for joining us here on Newsmax Prime. It was a pleasure to speak with you. And we want to remind you, we want you to join the conversation. 1-877-NEWSMAX is a number to call. We'll be right back.